Welcome to part 2 of a multi-part video training series where we are going step by step everything to do with Amazon FBA prep services. In part 2, this entire video, we are going to go down deep into pricing. Everything you need to know about the costs involved in working with an Amazon FBA prep service. As we go through this entire play series, this playlist, we're getting closer and closer into the warehouse operations, going behind the scenes of the systems and everything that we operate, including materials, walking through the streams and the systems and the processing, the inbound and outbound. And this video is just a step before that, because as we work our way through, it's important that we build upon each of the parts that's come before. The first part we discussed an introduction. It was a conversation between me and you. We were talking about which path you may want to take, and that's subjective. That depends on what your ultimate vision is, whether you see yourself going down the warehouse route or the Amazon FBA, like a prep service route. We discussed all that. It was a great conversation that we had, because I can relate to both. Let's get started in this second part. Please give it a big thumbs up if you enjoy this. Please comment down below, let me know, and please hit the subscribe button and share it with anybody that you think is considering using a prep service. I know over the number of years, we've had the privilege of working with incredible individuals, incredible businesses and brands, and the conversations and the questions that we're involved in, that's the purpose of this entire series. So, a little introduction. Let's get behind the screen, let's get talking, pricing, everything you need to know, and let's begin. Okay, so I'm now inside the computer and you can see my screen, and we're going to talk about different pricing strategies that are out there, some of your considerations. Now, if you was to go onto our website, our systemisefulfillment.co.uk, .com.eu, you will see that we want to have our pricing on display, because ultimately it gives you an idea, it gives you an insight to where you may want to begin, what the future may hold for you, and ultimately what you're going to get when you was to enroll. So I'm just on the website. If you was to land on the website, the page that we're going to go and discuss is the pricing website. But inside this, this entire website, it shares with you lots more information that builds upon everything that you need to know about working with a prep service. Feel free to take a look. But I'm going to go on to the pricing page. Now, the pricing page is there to describe and share what's involved from a pricing perspective. Now, when it comes to using a prep service, there's a few things to ultimately consider. There's ultimately for us, there's two paths or two types of plans that we have, whether it is from an individual, an Amazon FBA, an Amazon FBM, or we do also work with the order fulfillment when we're working with the brands that don't want their own warehouse. They'll look for a 3PL like ourselves that we can store all their products, we can get connected and integrated into their platforms, we can ship directly to their customers, whether it's B2B, B2C, and we're going to discuss all that throughout this. So there's a couple of things right off the bat. We have a couple of buttons here that essentially says if it's for Amazon FBA plans or our Systemise order fulfillment plans. We also have a schedule a call with our team if required. Sometimes a call is that final conversation, getting your final questions answered. So there's a few things just to kind of go through. So this is as it stands at the time of this recording in going into Q4 of 2024. This is our current plans. Now, we've designed these plans in the most cost-effective structure, and everything we discussed in part 1 about all the complementary things that you may want to consider. Everything is a part of these particular plans. So the first one is we start with a supercharge, then we go to platinum, then we have platinum X, then we have our ultimate plans, and we also have what we call our inner circle. And I'll share with you the differences between them. Now, a few things just to consider. There's a number of ways that a service can set themselves up. Some services will have no kind of memberships in place, some will have memberships in place. Now, for us, our philosophy has always been to do more than just a prep service, and also all our teams and structures and infrastructure, our functions is split up so that we don't just have a warehouse team that's also the finance team, that's also the business development team, or the partner relations team, or the quality assurance team. We do have access to all our specialist teams across all our different functions, and therefore it's to allow us to specialize in every single area. And as we start talking about in parts to come, when we start talking about the different functions and the systems, the onboarding, and everybody that you kind of will be introduced to, you'll start to see how having specialist teams does serve a greater purpose. So we have our membership plans in place. I remember when we first started this in 2016, at the time it was very much like a tiering system, and the prices were a kind of like the lower you ship, the higher the cost was. And back then there was costs of like £1.50 per unit, £1.30 per unit. And there's all these add-ons too. There was like lots of different add-ons. Like if you used a polybag, it'd be extra. If you used a bubble wrap, it would be extra. If it was a bundle, it would be extra. And one of the things that we did in late 2016, 2017 is we came out into the marketplace with one single per unit price that covers the majority of work that we will do. So you'll see straight away, you'll notice that we have a single per unit price. It doesn't say anything to do with additions. It doesn't say anything to do with like additional polybag prices or bubble wrap prices or bundle prices. This does include everything that is from a standard perspective, such as any singles, simple bundles. What we refer to that is if they were the same type of product, up to 4 items within a bundle, oversize, polybags and bubble wrap. Everything's included within that single price. Now, there are some asterisks involved in that, and full transparency. For example, if there's different products that you may want to consider selling, or you might be exploring. So if, for example, you have something that's extremely large and heavy, let's say extra oversize, you was looking at selling whether it is sofas and washing machines, and we actually do ship some really large like fire boxes and fire heaters. They would have to be uniquely priced. Also, anything that is risk is expensive. So a part of our insurance and a part of a prep service, they should have insurance in place to cover a certain element of stock. Anytime that you have any type of high value goods, whether that's like televisions or laptops or electronics or phones or security systems or monitors, anything kind of electronic or anything that gives risk from a protection point of view, security point of view, and we'll certainly talk security too, that increases premiums, and therefore we have to bespokely and uniquely price for them to cover those additional premium charges that insurance companies put on a business like a prep service. So in general, what we tend to say is if it's a simple item, if it's a simple bundle, if it is oversized in a sense of not extra oversized and it's not crazy heavy, crazy large, polybags or bubble wrap bags, then it would be under the simple per unit price. That allows you to ultimately know what pricing will be ultimately involved in the service that you have. So going back to 2016, it was very tiered base. It was, and that wasn't, it didn't give you the the certainty of what your pricing would be from just the Amazon prep service point of view. Because there could be a big difference between shipping 999 units to 1,001 units, right? An extra couple of units, and all of a sudden it ends up being more, it can make a big difference in your costs. So therefore, that's why we went to this. Now, we do have on here most cost effective, where we have calculated, and you can calculate yourself, where it essentially, when you add everything together and you do the maths and the calculations, you'll start to see that there is a single per unit price, despite there being like a monthly membership involved. But ultimately, if you ship 10,000 units, and yes, you factor in the memberships and you factor in the costs per unit, then all of a sudden that, for example, an inner circle price or an ultimate price, it might say 49 pence, but when it's all said and done and you average everything out, it might be all in 60 pence, 64 pence, all in. So we tried to describe and share very, very clearly from an understanding pricing point of view, what's involved. So you want to consider what is the per monthly kind of starting costs. We created what we call this supercharge, which is for beginners. It's like if you're shipping less than 1,000 units, it allows you to take advantage of everything that we do from a Systemise perspective, and all our additional supportive resources that we have involved in working with us. For example, just one of them I'll just quickly share with you. We wrote books. We've wrote books in the past, and we'll send these out to our partners, so it supports you on your journey. It's also an introductory offer, which essentially means that we want to help you. We want to supercharge your business. So therefore, we do lots of different, and we share our different standard systemized benefits, and this is something that you want to consider when you're looking at understanding different pricing. So we have like our systemized operating system. We do have our systemized logistics, which there'll be a full independent video just specifically for that. We have our executive club. Our executive club is essentially an exclusive members area where we communicate. We talk to one another. Like, for example, it's on my phone, and it's essentially, it's not like just a public forum like a Facebook group. This is an app. It has calendars, we have events in there, we have calls in there. Everything that you, the features that are involved in more from an exclusivity point of view. It's kind of standard when it comes to ourselves. We also do like our events, right? So our Systemise Summit event, if you just go to systemisesummit.co.uk, you'll see that we host different events, right? Which essentially means that these are the things that we've tried to be unique in ultimately providing that additional, value. There's many other things that we do, such as we do record months. We try to support record months. We do 5 for 4 different offers. We do personalized strategy plans and suspension defense and wholesale training. And you'll see all that when we talk in the sort of onboarding, and we'll go behind the scenes so you can actually see this all step by step. Now, there's a few other additional things that we've done over the years, such as create what we call like our Platinum X, our Ultimate, our Inner Circle. And you'll see as you kind of scroll down that this is where you start to see the additional instant sort of additional features and resources and support that you can get, such as we do have one-on-one mentorship. That's from our business development team working with you one-on-one, which immediately gives you that personalized roadmap, that personalized understanding of where you are currently to where you want to be on a monthly basis. We also do lots of things like like behind the scenes templates. So you see like behind the scenes of exclusive brand deals, something that we do, business and operations templates immediately accessible, different wholesaler supplier lists that are available. We have different blueprints and frameworks that we also do. And then we also add, for example, what we call like our inspired experience, which is a one-on-one you essentially come in person, and we give you we basically give you a full tour of operations, share everything with you, and sit down with you and really work on your personalized kind of business strategy plan, where we're there to help. So that's why and one of the things that I always kind of recall it, or kind of say it's a theme park for e-commerce entrepreneurs, right? Coming into offices and warehouses, etc. And then we go on. So, for example, from an ultimate point of view, we start going more trainings. Essentially, if you was to go to like our on-demand trainings, you can kind of see our resources. We have lots of different on-demand trainings here. So for whether it's courses, whether it is templates, whether it's mentorships, whether it is experiences, whether it's events, this is how we start to bolt these onto additional plans and higher forms of plans, the higher our partners will want to go. Even including like warehouse secrets. So we've done, we've created lots of documentation in terms of how we've set up our organization and what materials and what to look out for, health and safety. And there's so much involved in ultimately a warehouse. We had what we call our warehouse legends that have used us. For example, there was a gent a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, he actually started with us. He went from starting to plus 15,000 units in a month. He wanted to get into a warehouse. He became a case study for us on how we could help answer questions about going into warehouses. So that's everything that you see here is explained on a pricing page. Now, there's also this inner circle plan, which comes through application. And you can kind of learn a lot more that's involved in that. It's also under our, if you was to go onto the resources, you'll see, I believe under mentorship, you start to go into the inner circle, you start to see more of our what's going on in terms of our mentorship plans. And for the inner circle, that is more, I love working with our inner circle. So I work directly with inner circle. There's more additionals, value added things that we've added onto there. When you actually go onto here, if you were to click onto any of these, so for example, Platinum, you'll see then everything should give you a kind of a clear checkout, if you like. So you can see it kind of tells you exactly what you're going to get access to. It adds your email address, you create your password. You'll also see it asks you to look at the full terms and service. Now, we have agreements, and our agreements go out and they get signed, and we itemize everything in agreements. Now, we also have what we call this terms of service. Now, the terms of service, it adds even more context around, if you could imagine from a pricing page. So we share with you the kind of the headlines, right? 21 days free trial, $299 a month, the per unit price, what the boxes are going to cost, Amazon returns are going to cost. Now, there are scenarios that you need to be also aware of. So, for example, what happens in the event of an investigation? What happens in the event of a supplier, something not going right in terms of your supplier's goods not arriving? What happens with partner requests? What happens in terms of billing? Like, so we bill memberships go out whenever the kind of enrollment is, but then it really details like what your invoicing schedule will be, and all that is there, and you can see it any day that you want. It's ultimately public on the website. We also share this behind the scenes too. So it's inside members areas. We do our annual statement where we do essentially a letter to all our partners, what we've experienced in the calendar year, to give an update. And it also has the terms of service in there. And we add it as many places as we possibly can, from website to members area to inside Slack. You can see it at any given time when you kind of click onto the bookmarks on top of Slack, which we will talk about as we go further in this series, as well as it's also on the SOS within our operating system. So you can start to see what happens with finance tickets, support tickets, if you've got queries, frequently asked questions. So I'm sharing all this if you've never experienced this before, this is just giving you more insight on what to expect. Now, there's a few, I mentioned to you about, we also have our order fulfillment plans, whether it's domestic and international. You'll see that this is slightly different because this is more B2C, B2B, 3PL. This is your own website and TikTok shop, etc. So we have integrations, a part of what we refer to as Systemise Logistics. We do have the ability to ship worldwide. As explained and as shown on here, every one of our partners have access to what we call our Systemise Logistics. Systemise Logistics is a part of a wider mission, a part of the Systemise group, where we have the ability to ship domestically, internationally, and we work with all our accounts and we negotiate the best rates we possibly can with our accounts, and then we provide you with what your pricing ultimately is, when it factors in potentially surcharges and everything else. But that would be another conversation that we could most definitely have when it comes to another video that will specifically talk about Systemise Logistics. It's a little bit more complicated. There's exporting involved. If you was to its prices are different, whether it's to Europe, to the US, to the UK, whether it's domestic, whether it's to Australia, depending on what type of goods that you're shipping. You could be shipping. There's commodity codes. Some commodity codes have different prices attached to them. There's lots of different logistical exporting insights that's really, really important to kind of discuss. And it's really, really important to know that and study that. And we have all the literature and support that we provide to you. So that gives you a bit more of an understanding from a pricing point of view. Now, over the years, it's also one of the things that I've always found amazing, really, is from an Amazon perspective. From Amazon, what they do is yes, you have FBA fees, right? You have referral fees. And for every one of your costs, you do have a percentage, right? So it's roughly, when it's all said and done, 30 to 35%. It's always increasing of your total sales. So it's percentage based, which when you think you're getting access to millions upon millions of kind of square footage, that seems quite cheap. Right? When you think, okay, I've just sold this for £20 and Amazon have charged me, £6, £7, but you've got access to the entire infrastructure. For us, one of the things that we've always loved to do is support those that don't want their own warehouses. And, because I can kind of assure you, if you looked at the warehouse e-commerce secrets, you start looking at all costs involved in rates and insurance and security, right? So we have CCTV, we have our fire system, we have our insurance, we have all these things, business rates, etc. There is pretty much not many places that you'll be able to get warehouses for some of these kind of prices. And that's the way it ultimately, it has to, it's the only way it can work for all the prep services when it comes to our industry. Because it's a never-ending process, right? We want everybody to be successful. We want, in order to be successful and serve partners, etc., ultimately there needs to be a kind of a three-way win-win-win all around to make all the calculations, etc., work. So if you've got any questions whatsoever, you can click on to schedule a consultation call. You can see here, this just gives you an example. When I click onto these, you can start to see We ask for a few questions here, like what's your current volume right now? You can start to see what locations, you can ask any questions, you can see what type of plans that you may be interested in, if you're the decision maker in your business and whether you wanted to enroll, what ultimately will talk you through what ultimately happens after the enrollment's taken place, and you know what to expect, share different case studies and people in ultimately the past on who's been here before yourself. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you are watching this in the future, it may be different, right? It might evolve as we go into the future. It will evolve. We're always changing. But if you're watching this in the current terms, then this is going to be like live for you to check out as well. So this has been part 2 of a multi-part series. Hopefully you enjoy this. This is something that we've had a lot of questions over time, and we thought, let's create this series where we talk about this step by step. So part 3 is going to be, we're going to start talking about that consultation call, and then what ultimately ends up happening once the enrollment's taken place. So you can see behind the scenes. You can see what happens as you are onboarded into a prep service, because if you're a beginner and you've never done this before, then that's going to be really, really insightful. And all this is before we're even in the warehouse. So my name's Kev, inspiring you every single day to keep taking massive action. Look forward to seeing you very, very soon. If the part 3 is up, it will pop up. You can click on this video. Please share it. Please give it a big thumbs up. And as always, keep taking massive action. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.